Coming live from the firehouse, it's Good Night with Christopher Blue, with special guest star, Geeks and Noobs podcast. I'm your co-host, Reverb, and here's your host, Christopher Blue.
Hello, and welcome to Good Night with Christopher Blue. I'm Christopher Blue, and we have a wonderful show for you tonight. Tonight, we talk with the hosts of the Geeks and Noobs podcast. But first, I would like to thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Don't forget to ring that bell so you get notified whenever we upload new content. When we come back, Geeks and Noobs podcast.
Hey, you like Good Night with Christopher Blue?
I love Good Night with Christopher Blue.
You wanna see videos you can't see anywhere else?
Yeah?
Go join the Patreon. We got all sorts of good things in there for ya.
I'm gonna do that right now.
Good Night with Christopher Blue Patreon. The link is in the description. Welcome back. Tonight's guests, I should say, are a couple of people who know a thing or two about geekdom. So take it away out of studio, Chris. Thanks, Chris. I am here with Vince and Kel of Geeks and Noob podcast. How are you guys doing?
Doing just fine. Chris, how are you doing?
Not bad.
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well.
Wonderful. So Kel, I've actually known you for a few years.
Senor.
Yeah, we've worked together on my old YouTube show PRNT, and you've moved on to bigger and better things. I'm excited to be talking to you now. Vince, this is our first time meeting.
Absolutely.
But you're taking care of my buddy Kel, it seems, so I already
As
like
much as
him.
possible. Yeah.
I mean, I need all the help I can get, so.
No, you're not alone there.
Yeah, yes.
So I invited you guys onto the show to talk about your podcast. So I guess tell me, what is it that that Geeks and Noob podcast is all about?
Well, so a quick rundown. It started a little over a year ago. It was originally called Two Geeks and a Noob. And it was me and my good friend from high school, Q, and my best friend, Denise, where Q and I are huge comic book geeks and movie geeks. We both went to Full Sail, got degrees in film production. And Denise is, for lack of a better term, a noob. But the whole idea behind it was to come from both ends of the spectrum of fandom. As somebody, she enjoys the Marvel movies and the other stuff, but she doesn't know a lot about the backstories. So we were kind of like the educating side of that. But it's also a whole full circle kind of thing, because there are terms when she would be the geek on something and we would be the noob. So it was about creating an all-inclusive community, kind of eliminating the gatekeeping, the toxicity, stuff like that. Over time, however, their work schedules kind of didn't allow them to be a part of the podcast, their family life and work schedules. So it morphed into the Geeks and Noobs, so as not to put a number on it. And from there, I met Kel through TikTok. I brought him on to help me with the Moon Knight series and covering that each week. And it turned into a true friendship and a true partnership at the Geeks and Noobs.
I love that.
I'm a big fan of Moon Knight, and then I asked him if I could just come on and talk about it as it came on, the way that the film really worked for the podcast before. And we just had a great time. I was only going to come on for the first episode, and then he just suggested we just talk about the whole series. Since I was a big fan, I was knowledgeable, I could drop facts about the comics, etc. And then after that was done, he just asked me to stay, and here we are, months and months later.
The natural coming together of something is always awesome.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly
yes,
agreed.
Very.
So what would you say is the coolest thing that you've gotten to experience while doing this podcast?
God, that had to just happen.
Yeah.
That literally just happened for us. We had Ming Chen on. That was amazing.
Yeah, Ming Chen from Comic Book Man and Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah, the View Askew-verse. Kel, please tell the story of how you met him and made that whole thing come to be.
He loves it when I tell this story. Loves it.
Absolutely.
So, I went to a con here in my home state of Tennessee, and Ming was there. And, we're just walking through, and the reason I am called Kel Mick Cosplay is because I do cosplay. and I have several cosplays so far. I'm working on some new ones, upgrading some old ones, and I went as my original character, my OC Green Lantern, to this con. And we're walking through the panel area and the vendor booths and the celebrity tables, and at one point I turned around and I see Ming Chen walking up to me and saying, "Dude, this is an awesome Green Lantern cosplay. Well done." I was just like, "Wow." I mean, you don't get that experience a lot with celebrities at these cons where they come to you and start talking to you, which really threw me off. But we started talking, and he's just such a great guy to just sit and talk with. I mean, because as we established in our interview 2 weeks ago with him, he's a fan first and a celebrity second. So he knows what it's like to stand in the lines and wait to meet someone that you've seen on television or on a big screen. And he just tries to give it his 100% when interacting with his fans. And it's just amazing. But then later on, I really got to experience something else because since this is a smaller type of con, they try to include other experiences, for lack of a better term. But yeah, it was an experience for sure. That you got the opportunity, as advertised on the website, it was an opportunity to go on a moonshine tasting with Walter Jones, who I know you are familiar with.
Yes,
as the
yes.
The most Tennessee thing I've ever heard of, too, by the way. And I love it. I love every second of it.
But yeah, Walter Jones is the original Black Power Ranger from
Yes.
Power Rangers. And, his prices for autographs and stuff are a little steep. I mean, he was the most expensive person there. So I was like, well, do I want to spend $60 on an autograph, or do I want to pay $50 for an experience that no one else will have?
Right.
So I chose that option. And, so we get down there to the tasting, and we're shooting back a few little tastes of different various moonshines. And then all of a sudden, celebrities that weren't included on that package started showing up, including Ming Chen. So, I have Walter on my left and Ming on my right, and we're just tasting these moonshines, just talking it up and everything. And it became an awesome experience. And I'll never forget it. I mean, they're both wonderful guys. They're really awesome to hang out with them. And then the following day at the con, went back up and visited with some more people and everything, and telling me really appreciated the night before and all that. And right before I left, it was like, you know what? I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm just going to go for it. I asked Mean, would you be interested in coming on a podcast with my partner and I? He said, you said the magic word. I love doing podcasts. Just email me and we'll set it up. And it finally happened. So
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah.
I love that. So how long has this podcast been going on? I know, Kel, you're newer to the podcast. But what year did you say you started?
So we started in 2021, around July is when it started. And at first it was like YouTube only, like recording it and then editing it and put it on YouTube kind of thing. And then once Denise and Q had to leave, I had a co-host, a good friend of mine named Lily, who was on it for a while. We decided to try the live aspect of it. So I joined Twitch and joined YouTube, and we started going live probably February of last year, I want to say.
That sounds
And then
about
we
right.
started doing them live. And then it's so basically from like February of last year to now is really, so about a year's time it's been the live experience that it is now.
Wow. And so are you finding yourself enjoying it more that you're doing it in this way?
Yeah, absolutely, 1,000%.
Oh yeah.
It's
When getting to interact with the people that's watching really makes a difference. I mean, we're all nerds in our own way, and we always have those conversations with good friends where we just sit and talk and just debate
Yeah.
and tell our points of view about certain aspects of things. So that really it really feels like we have a closer knit community than like other streaming and podcasts do.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing it live, having that interaction immediate instead of like putting something up and then having to wait on the comments. I like that a lot. I think it also helps drive the conversation at times.
Mhm.
and so that it can also take it in dynamic ways that you weren't really expecting, which is always good as well.
Yeah,
Um,
because Vince is notorious for his tangents.
I am definitely the
Yes.
tangent kind of guy.
I have
And
ADHD, so I totally understand going off the rails.
oh yeah, for sure, for
Uh,
sure.
so, what would you say is the biggest challenge of doing something like this?
I think it's building the audience. It's getting the people to come.
Yeah.
Like we don't have the largest audiences at the moment, around 300 people on YouTube. We're, at a almost, what are we at? 120 followers on Twitch. So still fairly small. I've got 6,000 followers on TikTok. Kel, you're at what now?
Over 1,050 now, something like that.
Yeah. So it's all relatively small for us, but it's still a building process. And I think it's just finding ways to market it better, which we're working on. In 2023 will be a much bigger year for us. I'm so sure of that. Um, it's becoming more of a focus, and the other part of it has been, as far as difficulties go, has been, the personal life can sometimes get in the way, be it uh, issues with tech or issues on a much more severe level of, say, family issues, or something happens, or even just your own anxiety and depression can come into play, and where you don't want to do anything. So I think the biggest key is never wanting it to feel like a job,
Mhm.
Yep.
but feel like a passion, which I do believe we are still in that. We're still in that area. We take our time. We'll take our mental health breaks if we need it. But like I said, 2023 for us, I have a feeling is going to be very, very huge.
Yeah. I can't wait to get going with some of the stuff that we've been talking about. It's really going to be exciting.
That's exciting. So, you talk about all things nerd culture. So I'm sure you've covered Marvel and DC and stuff like that a bunch. Is there a topic that you haven't covered yet that you'd like to um,
Ooh, that's a good
cover in the
question.
future?
Yeah.
Because we've touched on Star Wars, I don't think enough.
Yeah, we really
But at
haven't.
the same time, we kind of avoided it simply because it is such an incredibly toxic reaction to things,
Mhm.
Yeah.
more so than most. I also host a secondary podcast on the channel called Wrestling with Toxicity, where I cover pro wrestling a lot. Kel's in the audience very often with that. And of course, always has an open share on the podcast as well there. I do that one with my brother now. And so pro wrestling's another big nerd spot for me. So I'm happy to be able to do that. But like even that can be an incredibly toxic thing. But considering that's what our podcast focus on, it's different. We've talked about Star Wars, but we've avoided it because the second if we don't love it to 1,000, we get hate. But if we love it to 1,000, we get hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that one's been kind of avoided. We haven't talked on it much. I would kind of like to talk on it more, but
Yeah.
it's like walking on eggshells.
Yeah, I was about to say we have to tread that line like a gray Jedi, just straight down the middle. Otherwise, we're just gonna get slammed.
One thing I'd like to do more of, and this is gonna obviously, because again, life gets in the way from time to time, but I would love to do like commentary, like go and revisit old stuff and do commentaries on it, that kind of thing. I'd love to revisit the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
I'd love to, even like just going back to the 80s, like Big Trouble in Little China, stuff like that. Like movies they're nerdy, but they're
Yeah.
not in that same kind of vein. Like
Mhm.
Die Hard, which is a Christmas movie, and I will fight anybody.
And I will be Mickey in your corner.
Yeah, it just shut up. It's a Christmas movie.
It is.
But stuff like Demolition Man,
Oh,
like even bad movies like He-Man and the Master of the Universe. Whenever I feel like torturing myself, I put that movie on. Just stuff like that. I'd love to maybe hit some more retro stuff, but because of the fact we are in kind of the new age of geek chic, there is so much content coming out that it's hard to kind of, without this being an actual full-time gig. Like we have families to take care of. It's not exactly something we can do without it being a paycheck. Like we don't have the time all the time to do it. But
Mhm.
I guess there's a lot going on. A lot of stuff we'd like to do over the next year. A lot of cons. I think con coverage is the other one.
Yeah.
I've for our YouTube channel, TGN Networks, I'm going to be doing a lot more like kind of travel vlog style videos.
Mhm.
Coming up, I'm going to hit theme parks. I'm in Florida, so I've got Disney, I've got Universal, I've got SeaWorld, I got Busch Gardens. So I'm going to do a lot of theme park stuff. I'm going to do a lot of convention stuff. In fact, I'm going to go hang out with Ming Chen in February, and the Pensacola Comic Con. I've already booked my room and everything. We're going to go to
Nice.
New York. I'm going to work it out to where we both get to go to New York for New York Comic Con in October, in which Ming has invited us to go to his podcast studio and do one of his podcasts.
Gotta love
I think that'll be-
collaborations.
Exactly. And I
Exactly.
think that's the key. I think it's the other thing that we want to do in this. I think, and that's something you bring up. And again, tangent. I think collaboration is the key to 2023, and that rhymed. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. But I think that I want to do a lot more collaborative stuff as well. I want to reach out to people like Moist Critical on YouTube has his own comic book called God Slap. I'd love to talk about him with that, and he's located in Tampa, Florida. He's right down the road from me.
There you go.
I want to get with Jacksepticeye and cover the stuff that he's talked. I think expanding the geek culture to gaming and stuff, because also we have our Twitch channel. I'm gaming on that. I have I do Super Beard Plays Poorly, because here I am, a 40-year-old man who's been playing video games for over 30 years, and yet I still suck. So you get to watch me be bad at video games. So I think that's one of the things that, like, it's hard on just the one podcast to cover it all, obviously. And so that's kind of what the purpose of 2023 will be for us, is expanding it to a true TGN networks and having these multiple things that we can cover and we can handle, and finding ways to bring other people into it. Because I want it, again, the end of the day, the entire basis of this whole thing, it's about building community, inclusivity, no gatekeeping, no toxicity. Everybody on every end of the spectrum of fandom is welcome, and we want them all to feel that. So that's the key.
I love that. Kel, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I mean, Vince pretty much said it all right there. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm totally open to collaborating with other content creators and stuff. I mean, I do have my TikTok channel, and I have my friends group in there, and we duet and share videos all the time and work off each other. And that was always really fun. This time of the year is not the personally greatest mental health couple of months for me, so I take a break about this time of year from doing all that on TikTok and stuff. But doing this, it really helps me just push through it, because it is so much fun, and I just get to talk about things. So that really helps me mentally. But yeah, I can't wait to continue on doing this as long as I enjoy it. And every Thursday when we go on the air, I can't wait. We're figuring out what we're going to talk about, and I'll look up some things, figure out stuff when we get ready to do it, and I look forward to every Thursday now on.
It's also been a really good excuse to go to our local comic book shops and pick up more stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, honey, it's for work. It's research. I mean, I'm saying that to my mirror because I'm single, but
that's what I'm telling my wife.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, my wife is more okay with me collecting comics and reading them, opposed to my other obsession I had a while back, which was Magic the Gathering, where I had like 9,000 cards sitting in a drawer in my closet and doing literally nothing with them, because I only have certain cards that I need to work on my decks. So
Yeah.
as long as I'm reading now, she's really cool about it. She's supportive. And
It's always good to have supportive people in your corner.
oh yeah, I'm just have to throw out so much support, because for Christmas she got me this great chair that I can now sit comfortably and do the podcast now, where I had just an old piece of crap roll chair, and my back would be killing me after every hour we do the podcast.
And he had to show me up because he got the same blue chair as mine, but his has a footrest on it. So I was like,
Yeah.
That's friendship right there.
Yeah.
So have you guys, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, have you guys covered any Power Rangers on your
Not
your
as of
podcast
yet,
at all?
but it might be a topic coming up in the future.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
definitely something I definitely would like to talk about. We unfortunately, the only thing we've really talked about was the unfortunate passing of the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
Jason David Frank.
Yep.
Yeah, Jason David Frank, and so that sucked. I didn't want to talk about that, obviously. Such a tragic story.
Yeah.
But it is something like that. Again, that's another fandom that we have yet to be able to touch. And again, there's so many like we've touched a little bit on like Transformers, but I'd love to dive more into that, because the animated series, obviously I grew up on that. I'm 40. I grew up on the Transformers. I grew up on the Transformers movie. I grew up on Beast Wars, even, like, such great things. There's so many things. There's anime, something that Kel and I are not really like deep into anime, but it's still something that's obviously very huge.
Yeah.
And something I would like to cover as well. I think, like, at least at some point, bring in an expert where we end up being the noobs in that conversation, because my anime experience goes back to the 90s of like Akira, Vampire Hunter D, Ninja
Yeah.
Scroll, the OG stuff. But I'm not into the newer. I haven't watched a lot of the or any of the new stuff. Like I haven't watched Attack on Titan, even though I really want to. Like JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to watch it. So there's so many aspects of these fandoms that I would love to touch on. And again, Power Rangers is a huge one. And I do believe that is something we can and will cover sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Well-
definitely there's all kinds of aspects we'd love to touch on.
While I don't know a lot about anime or any of that other stuff, speaking of collaboration, if you want someone to come on to talk about Power Rangers, I am there.
Chris is the man. Chris is the guy.
You're right, Chris. You're already on our list.
And that is how you network.
I might just invite you on there one day just so we can have a Power Rangers trivia battle because I'm old school like you and grew up watching it. So
That's something else I like to do too. I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. I think that I think trivia battles are a lot of fun, and I think it's something that I'd like to do. And when it's a topic that I know nothing about, I can moderate because I'll have the answers. So yeah, there's a lot of fun in that. Like I'm a huge fan of like the College Humors actually game show and stuff like that. So I think it's like again just expanding the network into other things, and I think that's something that again collaboration's a key to that as well. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And with the unfortunate demise of the new G4, there's no real channel that does that kind of stuff on the regular.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to make it at least a monthly thing. But like something else we've talked about doing, we want to do like tabletop role playing game, stuff. Like we've got one coming up for the wrestling because there's a wrestling RPG we found, which is amazing.
Interesting.
So that's going to be coming up down the pipeline, and we'd like to do other ones, but instead of them being like basic D&D games, and no offense to Critical Role in any stretch because they do it masterfully, but I don't want to just copy Critical Role. So I want to like do superhero style ones, do a Star Wars one because those all exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about expanding on those in different niches, and I think that's the key to the whole idea is that highlighting these niches so that they aren't, because even though geek is chic right now, Marvel has made that kind of so super popular.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very much a lot of people still feel like they have to like stay closeted with their fandoms, and so finding fun ways to get people out of their shells, like trivia games, like tabletop RPGs, like podcasts, interviews, whatever it may be. I think it's on us to help others kind of explore that side more and feel more comfortable. And to, again, like you said, network, but network not just for business purposes. That's not that's not what I mean, but like also for friendship purposes.
Right.
And finding more people in those areas that like maybe somebody who has more experience that can help you learn more, or just another person who also felt weird about talking about it, and you can find ways to come together. Now you have a friend who can help. You can help each other out of your shell.
I love that.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, where can people find you guys to keep up with all that you guys are doing?
Kel, I'll let you go first.
All right. You can find me on TikTok at Kel_McCosplay. MCCOSPLAY. And then I also have Instagram at KelMC8. Was it
841?
841. Thank you. See, he knows me better than me.
Well, that's because I'm looking at it.
Fair enough.
But so there's you can go to twitch.tv/the Geeks and Noobs spelled out. YouTube is youtube.com/TGN Networks. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at SuperBeardVH. You can find me on TikTok at just Superbeard by itself. I've taken a 3-month break from TikTok, but again, starting with 2023, where everything's going back up, you're going to see more TikToks, more Instagram. You're going to see more stuff on the YouTube page, like I said before, with travel vlogs or IRL vlogs, stuff like that. We've got Wrestling with Toxicity, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. The Geeks and Noobs podcast, the OG podcast, is Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern live. You can join us in chat either on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch. And so we ask that everybody come join us there, be a part of the conversation, be a part of the community, because it's not just our podcast, it's your podcast as well.
That's awesome. And what I'll do is I'll make sure all those links are in the description of this video. Thank you guys so much again for coming on. I've really,
Absolutely, it's fun.
Thank
really
you
had
for having
a
us.
great time talking to you guys. But now, sending it back to me in the studio.
Thanks, Chris. That was a wonderful interview. What do you say, Reverb? Yeah, it was great.
That was great.
Yeah, it was great. That's our show. Thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Don't forget to ring that bell so you get notified whenever we upload new content. Until next time, good night, my sweet baby angels. I'll see you in the future.